So it happened. We all knew it was going to happen, but sometimes that just makes it better. Of course, WWE spent all week teasing that AJ Lee was going to be returned, so you could feel that excitement, that explosion in your tum-tum, which sounds absolutely terrible. I don't mean it that way. And then when it did happen, you saw what the Chicagoan fans did. They went absolutely nuts. I'd imagine even if you were sat at home playing Nintendo and also watching this, you probably did the same. Because yes, AJ Lee is now back in WWE at WrestlePalooza. We are going to do CM Punk and AJ Lee versus CM Punk and Seth Rollins. That's not right. Becky Lynch, we're going to clone CM Punk and go a heel version of CM Punk. Be like Evil Cartman in South Park. Becky Lynch and Seth Rollins. I want to focus on those two to begin with because the other stuff kind of writes itself. I thought Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch were tremendous in this main event segment for this week's episode of SmackDown. Becky Lynch's face when AJ Lee came out, even though it was quite obvious what was going to happen, was like Triple H selling Cactus Jack in 1997, whatever it was. When the hard cam cut to Seth Rollins, his face was hilarious too. He was half laughing because I think he was enjoying it so much, but he also looked like he'd seen a ghost, and they just healed it up and they got their asses kicked, and Seth Rollins literally left with Becky Lynch over his shoulder. Seth Rollins refused to jump over the barricade because he didn't want to get into this. I'm not saying they should become full-on comedy heels, but man, did they pitch this exactly right, because all this segment needed to be was super entertaining. That's all it needed to be. You just wanted to enjoy yourself, put a smile on your face, remind of all those feelings you had 10 years ago and all the questions people have had in that decade, especially when CM Punk came back to wrestling a few years ago, even in AEW. Where's AJ Lee? Where's AJ Lee? Where is AJ Lee? And he was all like, it's up to her, man. She's my wife, but she can do whatever she wants. And so when all of a sudden it does happen, I really do think it was a special return. And I saw some people saying like, oh, it's the greatest women's return in history. I would just categorize it as one of the best returns in history. Again, somebody away for 10 years, somebody who did do a lot to push the women's movement forward in WWE, somebody who got marginalized because of the stupid rules back in WWE 10 years ago. Like, they were actually told women can't hit like men, which is let's just leave it there. That's not the video. But to go through all of that, to go out, to become a success outside of wrestling, and then come back to team with your husband and get that kind of reaction in essentially your, I don't think she's from Chicago, but they basically made a home there, obviously, given Punk's ties. I don't think you could have had anything better than this. And again, it just made you feel warm and fuzzy in your tum-tum. That's all it was. And even just seeing her beat the absolute crap out of Becky Lynch, I thought was great. And also, she was full on AJ Lee character here. Because even though her and CM Punk hugged at the end, it still felt like when she used to do those storylines, again, 10 years ago, when she was always kind of in control of the power couple or whoever she was with. So, yeah, even the skip, man, it's those small things in wrestling that people do. It's like, you know, Austin's What, obviously, that took over, or LA Knight's Yeah, or Penta's thing that, you know, if you ever hang out with him, he'd be so late because he can't walk at normal speed. That skip, or that hop, whatever you want to call it, just has something to it. And it's weird, and I bet people, I know they are, because my TikTok is full of it, people are just skipping around their houses today, because again, that's what wrestling does to you as well. So it was very by the numbers in many ways, but it should have been. It didn't need to be anything over the top, anything too complicated. I appreciate the fact that CM Punk clearly must have been on the internet, so maybe it's going to be Rhea Ripley, and maybe it's going to be Bayley, which was some faux report that somebody put out that was always nonsense. Becky Lynch, I just think she's on fire as this character. Her whole I'm the best wrestler in the world, and I'm not the only person saying it, when she starts them pulling out random publications, and always Sports Illustrated, to say they backed me up. It's just what a 4-year-old would do, and I think she totally understands what she is doing. So it was just great. And if you have, it can't have been that long, 10, 12 minutes, maybe 15 max. If you have that today, you should just go and watch it. It's WWE at its best, right? It's full-on sports entertainment. It's over the top. It's a little bit silly, but you get that moment, which has become a dumb word in 2025, but it's the best way to sum it up. And when you get these things, I always walk away going, you know what? I just flipping love wrestling. And of course, now we're going to get that match too, which is a massive match. That WrestlePalooza show, we predicted the card yesterday. Please don't check it out, mostly because YouTube, for some reason, is kicking my butt at the moment. I can't get any traction on videos, which is a little bit worrying, but we plow on regardless. But on paper, it's huge, and I think the reaction last night proves that. I don't know where WrestlePalooza is now I've said that, but it doesn't matter. She's going to get a massive reaction wherever she goes, especially for the first time. I doubt she's back full-time, nor should she be. I think a part-time schedule, maybe like something like Nikki Bella is doing, or maybe a bit more frequent than that, is perfect. And given that I think it was after SmackDown and went off air, there's clips of AJ Lee holding the title going, oh, this is mine now. when we're done with the tag team match, separate CM Punk and Seth Rollins back onto their feud and separate Becky Lynch and AJ Lee into their feud. Do it for the Intercontinental title and at a Survivor Series, or if you have the courage, for lack of a better term, do it at the Royal Rumble. Actually, you want AJ Lee in the Royal Rumble? Probably. Maybe. I don't know about that. But she should win the IC title. And then what an incredible championship that is, right? You've got the world title stars who would be, Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer and Tiffany Stratton and Jade Cargill. But then beneath that, you've got legends. Becky Lynch, AJ Lee, etc., doing their thing. And obviously Bayley and Lyra Valkyria fit into that as well in terms of what they did to elevate that belt. The US title on SmackDown needs more, but we'll get to that in just 1 second. But this really was cool. And if there's anybody out there today going, oh, I didn't like it, you obviously allowed that, but I do not believe you. You just can't be happy for other people. You must have full-on schadenfreude in your life every single day. Even if you look at it from the personal point of view, which I mentioned over at What Culture Ups and Downs. Check that out for my beat-by-beat review. Phil Brooks and I assume her real name isn't AJ Lee. Mendez, I think it is. I don't know, whatever. But the real people in their real lives. What an incredible moment for them to share. Back in WWE, in Chicago, people going crazy, get to hug as SmackDown go off air. I'm pretty sure in like 2017, to pull out a random date. They never thought this was going to happen. And I always like to look on the human side of things because really that's all that matters. Like wrestling is fine and good and dandy, but it's not as important as the most important stuff. It was a top tier segment. It's one of those segments that you'll wake up on a random Thursday. I'm repeating myself now from other videos. And you go, you know what's going to make me feel good today and get me through this day? It's watching the AJ Lee return pop. And yeah, 10 and a half years. 10 and a half years. I think our last match was WrestleMania 31, which is kind of funny because it's the same WrestleMania as Sting versus Triple H. Was that 33? I can't remember. It all just blurs into one after a while. But it's been a long old time. And of course, our last match was with Paige taking on the Bella Twins. Just saying that they're all free agents right now. So it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you now, and I'll clip this bit, and I'll throw it on the internet in 6 months' time, a year's time, 2 years' time. You can never say never in professional wrestling. We have always said that. But now it is triply true, because AJ Lee and CM Punk are back in the WWE, and we even got this photo with Triple H. There was a time that would never have happened, because wrestling, as always, is nuts. The other best part of SmackDown was the beginning with John Cena's promo, where he is just the most, well, what's the word I'm looking for? Baby face. I'll go with, which is a double baby face. Just fans, I love you fans, you are the best. He told the Chicago audience, man, there's no fans better than you. And he was on The One Show, which is a UK television program this week, saying, man, UK fans, there's no one's better than you. So he knows what he's doing. But, you know, he basically said he's going to enjoy the rest of his ride. If Sami Zayn hadn't interrupted him, I'd be like, what's the point of that promo? He didn't even mention Brock Lesnar, who last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever, Nick Aldis was like, he's coming to get you. But no, Sami Zayn did interrupt, got booed out of the place. That's why Chicago is great. But because he is the US champion, he is now going to do an open challenge, which actually will be good for SmackDown going forward, especially if you've got some interesting names you can throw in there. But they had a match, and John Cena is just playing let's do all the moves of my favorite opponents now. Got an angle slam, got an angle lock, we've got pop-up powerbomb, Kevin Owens, and we've got a spear. Michael Cole said that's Roman Reigns' spear, and somebody else did mention Edge, maybe it was Corey Graves. It was definitely Edge. He was doing all the whole rub your face and do your wibbly jibbly. Roman Reigns doesn't do that. He goes, ooh-ah. Just spits out water into the air. It was a pretty good spear, mostly because John Cena is a big man. He just ran through Sami Zayn. He also did one of the best GTSs I've ever seen, and I realised it's because he's so strong. And because John Cena is so strong, he can throw them so high in the air, there's almost more time to control it on the way down. But seeing Sami Zayn gets booed just shows that John Cena, we talked about this before, after a while, Randy Orton's there too, you enter this level where people have grown up with you, and they're so appreciative of what you have done in wrestling. You can do no wrong. To the point, Sami Zayn, who was the proverbial babyface, got booed out of the place. Otherwise, yes, I wasn't the biggest fan of the finish. There's only a couple of reasons for that. Like, it doesn't matter because the match was so good. Even if, you know, aliens have come down and gone, poo-poo-poo, I'd be like, all right, fine, whatever. But the Brock Lesnar comeback to me has fallen flat. And I'm moving the personal stuff to one side. I've got a whole video talking about that where you can check it out. But, you know, we want to focus on SmackDown here. It makes no sense to me because he comes back at SummerSlam, he hasn't said a word. Then he vanishes. John Cena had other matches between that. Why didn't he interrupt those? It just makes it feel a little bit too not real. I know that wrestling's not real, but you know what I'm saying. Here he comes out. He stops the match, which I mean, listen, John Cena was never going to beat Sami Zayn, and Sami Zayn was never going to beat John Cena because the US title was on the line. So maybe I'm being a bit of a silly Billy here. But he drops Sami Zayn with an F5, so now hopefully we have a Sami Zayn Brock Lesnar match, but we won't. He does 2 F5s to John Cena, and when he's leaving the building, they caught with him backstage. And he goes, I'll see you at WrestlePalooza, bitch, which Again, it's just, you can't say anything aggressive with the word WrestlePalooza in it. I think we have to just be a bit tongue-in-cheek with this. But that's the build to the match. Now, Brock Lesnar is going to do a promo next week. But man, he better give me a soliloquy about what the flub is going on. Because forget the name Brock Lesnar, if you had done this with anybody, if anybody had a huge return at SummerSlam and then hadn't said a word almost a month later, you quite rightfully would be annoyed about this, as you should be. Because again, it's 2 + 2 = potato. It doesn't make any sense. And also, it's just not one of the people I wanted to see John Cena face. The feud was fine back in the day. I think SummerSlam 2014 is some of the best booking WWE has ever done. Watching Brock Lesnar murder John Cena after he had beaten The Undertaker at WrestleMania, I thought was excellent. But that was 10 years ago, and there is an AJ Styles. There is not Kevin Owens, he wouldn't be able to do it. But, all the moves that John Cena is doing kind of tie into some wrestlers that I'd rather see him facing. So it's just falling flat with me. But as I always say, if you're loving it, that's all that matters. But everything before this, it almost doesn't matter. Like, if something can be this entertaining, you can kind of forgive the faux pas. But Sami Zayn was great. He can handle anything. He's a super duper pro. The match was so damn fun and kind of a callback to what they did do 10 years ago when, of course, Sami Zayn debuted in John Cena's US Open Challenge. And even moving John Cena to one side as well, Sami Zayn doing a US Open Challenge is awesome. Sounds like Carmelo Hayes could be involved in that, although The Miz keeps trying to put him in tag team title shots. Of course, do it like John Cena did it as well, but maybe even lean into what Cody Rhodes did with that TNT title when he had the Open Challenge. If there are some people you can bring in, especially from like a TNA, I think we absolutely should. So maybe even a Zack Ryder could be one of those. There's a random prediction for you, based on nothing, just based on a weird idea that popped into my brain. It wouldn't overly surprise me. At the same time, I'm probably talking a bunch of nonsense. And everything else in the middle of SmackDown was the usual SmackDown bizarreness. Poor Julia and Michin, they don't need that sounds patronising. I mean, they don't need my sympathy at all. But again, as we talked about earlier, that US title belt, the women's one, has just been left to die. There's no feuds, there's no proper programs, no one gets to promo on anybody. You get like 1 minute segments each and every week. We don't know why Julia hired Kiana James. Of course, we had a distraction here. I mean, Julia can't beat Michin. I like Michin, she's great. She's a really, really, really solid worker and she's a benefit to any single roster. But Julia proved in NXT she's a machine, she's a warrior, she's kind of dangerous. She doesn't need WWE trope booking to win matches. I don't mind Kiana James talking for her and being an asshole on the outside, but it should have just been the Julia driver, whatever we're calling it, or the big old knee, 1, 2, 3, and that rhymes, so it must be true. But instead, it just feels like any other WWE match. And I'm a bit like, well, why bring Julia in, who is super unique and super original, if she's just going to fall into the same category? But also, even having that US title just doesn't feel like it means anything. It started okay when Chelsea Green won it in December, because I think most people wanted that, so that was exciting. But since then, it's been a whole lot of nothing, which is such a shame. That's not on the talent, right? You have to be put in the right situations. So I did think that was a little bit rickety-tickety. I just don't get it. I just don't understand. Like, even Chicago, who was on fire the entire night, made no noise for this. And that's because they haven't given a reason to care. I'm sure they're aware of how good Julia and Michin are. And Kiana James, she's great as well. And they obviously beat Michin up after this. But I do think it's something we need to hit reset on. I think we need to give Julia like a proper program, some back and forth, not even back and forth matches, but just some matches where she can win and then talk about, even if it's Kiana James, but talk about why this belt's is important, what she's going to do with this belt, as opposed to sometimes not being on the show and then she pops up for again 60 seconds. You just wouldn't do it with anybody else. It's just lame. I use that word again. I hate using that, but it is. I think WWE is more creative than this, and they've proven that they have in 2023. And again, you just need to see what they've done with the IC Women's title on Raw. Just copy and paste that. I did like Damian Priest versus Aleister Black. I thought that was fun. I think it's a shame these matches aren't being on pay-per-view. I do compare it to Sheamus versus Rusev. Like these awesome, under-the-radar matches, and they're much like Sheamus versus Rusev. You just need it on a bigger stage with fans going crazy. So hopefully this is leading to a stipulation match. Maybe at WrestlePalooza. Maybe that's what we did it now, so we could do it in a couple of weeks' time, but it would probably be later on. This was a much more interesting finish, and it says Aleister Black kind of uses the referee as a shield and then just knocks Aleister Black out. The nerd part of me would have liked the commentators to react to this a bit better. They did mention it, but they were more impressed with the knockout blow. I was like, yeah, but how did he get the knockout blow? He basically cheated. But that was a really, really fun match. They work great together. It's got no issues there. And yes, I mentioned the Carmelo Hayes thing. Just stuck in Groundhog Day. Nick Aldis can have a title shot. Then The Miz walks in. He wants a tag title shot. Well, maybe I'll think about it. haven't really done anything to earn a tag title shot. They did win a couple of matches, I suppose. It just feels a bit wishy-washy, although I think with the AJ Lee return and the fact that John Cena segment with everything else went basically 57 minutes, so we only had 60 minutes left, it wouldn't surprise me if some stuff got cut out or, we just deliberately didn't put people on the show. There's no Solos Sikoa, there's no Jacob Fatu. I'm getting really worried about Jacob Fatu because he was on fire a few months ago and we've really cooled him off. Why doesn't he care about the US title anymore? He should absolutely be front and center for that challenge. But I like Aleister Black and Damian Priest. Just a solid, good old match. And especially when you compared it to the Meechin Julius stuff, like it was night and day. So yeah, we just need to pump a bit more energy into other areas of SmackDown. It's also kind of how I feel about the Jade Cargill, Tiffany Stratton stuff. They just get no time. Like, cut to Tiffany Stratton. She's like, oh, man, I'm going to take on Jade Cargill next week on SmackDown, which is interesting. Worries me we're not going to do a title change. And she said, I'm going to kick her in the eye of the storm, which is a euphemism I don't think they meant to make. Cut to Jade Cargill, who's either watching Tiffany or tape, because Nia Jax walked in and acted like she was doing some research. And Jade Cargill says, well, when I win, you can be the first challenger. I love Nia Jax. I think she's great. I think she's criminally underrated. I think she is. No one can do Nia Jax matches as good as Nia Jax. It always sounds stupid, but hopefully you know what I mean. She takes a lot of heat online, and there's no need. Like, she's perfect at what she does. But we cannot fall into this pattern where someone wins the women's title and then you have to face Nia Jax. And really, Tiffany Stratton, apart from the Charlotte feud, and then going back and forth with Nia, like the Jade thing happened really quickly because there was no time to build it, and it was based on the fact that Jade Cargill won the King of the Ring. I would have preferred this to on SmackDown in 2 weeks' time, and next week give them a good 8 minutes to promo against each other. And we talked about this the other day. People go, they're not very good at promos. That's debatable, but they can't get better unless you allow them to do this. And I think Jade Cargill's got to win. I don't know how that's going to go down. Maybe Nia Jax helps her and she goes heel. Not entirely against them. I think doing something different with Jade Cargill would be fun. But I just think whoever does win that championship, or if Tiffany Stratton comes out as the champion, we got to do more. There's way more that we can do. Like, we're not doing that with Cody Rhodes, and we weren't doing that with Seth Rollins. They take up huge portions of the show, and I think that's what we need to do with that title as well. There's a lot of belts that just need a bit of a oomph in the moment. Like the IC title, the men's one now, is slowly getting there because the AJ Styles feud feels like it's going to be prolonged. But again, after WrestleMania, Dominic really didn't do a lot with that either. And I think that was basically the whole show. Like, a lot of it was Becky Lynch turning up and Nick Aldis saying, oh, you better not cause shenanigans. Then he booked her in the main event segment. It's a very interesting thing. But it's a two-beat show, right? You watch the John Cena promo, you watch the Sami Zayn match, then you can jump through. The Aleister Black stuff's good, like I say, but then you can jump through to all that main event angle. And the main event angle was so good, who even cares? Like, we've got into it here because that's what we're blessed enough to do. It doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. AJ Lee wins today, and she should win the weekend. I think that match is going to be awesome. She was so good moving around the ring as well. I know she just double-led Becky and did some punches, but some people have just got it, and I think that AJ Lee has got it, and I'm super excited about it. And at the end of the day, that's all wrestling needs to be. I did a silly tweet yesterday, which was said in good faith, about how, ratings are irrelevant. If you've enjoyed the show, you've enjoyed the show. And of course, people replied saying, but yes, Simon, if the ratings get too low, then how can you enjoy the show? Which just makes no sense. I still enjoyed it. Have you a Firefly fan? Firefly fans, you should be getting these people. They're the reason your show got canned to begin with. But the irony being that I was also talking about SmackDown, right? It's meant to be a double tweet. I don't know why I'm telling you this, but you may be interested. I don't know. It's the end of the video, so you're the hardcores. Because obviously SmackDown didn't do a great rating last week, and it was the same for AEW Dynamite this week. I thought both shows were fine. In fact, I thought some bits, elements was good. I don't care if you put a number attached to the end of it. I honestly don't care what it is. I care for the companies because I want them to do well for the wrestlers' sake. But for me, if I enjoy a show and it comes out with one rating and it was only me watching it, awesome. They've made a show just for me. Aren't I a lucky panda? I may do a rant about this soon. I mean, we do daily videos. Why the flub not? You can let me know in the comments below. Also, tell me your thoughts on the AJ Lee return. Be respectful and nice. I've seen some horrible things out there. I don't get what's wrong with people. Like the video, share the video, and subscribe. Also, click the video on the screen, which is me predicting the WrestlePalooza card. But you can also go to my patreon.com/Simon316, where we're doing watch-alongs. Going to get a new one up there this weekend. Grillermind.com/Simon. Use code Simon, get money off fitness supplements that actually help you. Brand new fitness channel talking about the Rock's physique was the last video, is down there as well. Simon316 on social media, and then Simon Miller on TikTok, Cameo, and other things as well. What's the other big one? I don't even know. Things. Big Cartel, Pro Wrestling Tees. I don't know. It's been a long week, and I need a day off. But at the same time, I don't, because it's fun doing this. I don't know what I'm talking about. Have a great weekend. I will see you in Leicester later if you are going to the Elevation show where I'm challenging for that world title. I'll see you soon.